Hi everyone, and welcome to English Digest. I'm Pat.
And I'm Elsie.
And today we're on our topic-based writing unit, the first one for this month. This one is all about a writing unit, all about students who order food to be delivered to their schools, not home. How often do you use like an Uber Eats, a Food Panda, or something else?
I use food delivery services all the time.
Literally
all the time.
Like every day, all the time?
Every day. And probably 3 meals a day I use those apps.
Way. Really?
Right. It's just so convenient.
Sure, but isn't it expensive?
Very much so.
Ah.
But, I don't have time to cook.
Okay, fair enough.
So if I'm outside working and I don't know what to eat, I'll just order food and get them delivered to my office.
Okay, to wherever you happen to be working.
Right. And I
Okay.
can choose. There are so many options of food.
Sure.
Right, so I can get whatever I want.
Okay.
Fast?
Yes, reasonably fast, yeah.
What about you?
I would say as a family, we probably 2 or 3 times a week, I would say.
Do you cook?
Yes, we try to cook. We try to use our own stuff when we can. And sometimes it varies because sometimes it's not just like the Uber Eats Food Panda stuff. There's also like a vegetarian lunchbox place that does delivery service.
Cool.
And that's like pretty cheap. It's less than $100 per lunchbox.
Yeah.
And they give you extra rice. You can get a lot of different choices there. So that's a good thing. And we can like have that delivered at lunchtime and it can be saved and reheated for when we get home from work or school.
Right, I also save food that way too.
Yeah. So
put it in the fridge and then microwave it whenever we want to eat.
Yeah, and we try to use it when we're ordering for like something that the entire family can eat or have, rather than just like, I want this tonight, I'm going to order this. Because that's, then we can kind of avoid the piling up delivery fees and other things like that.
Right.
Although I think we might have the like membership no delivery fee option at the moment. Anyway, that's ordering it for home. I've definitely ordered it to the office once or twice, especially during COVID times. Ordering it to school for students, is that a good idea?
Probably not.
Probably not. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think I can see good sides and bad sides, and that's kind of what we're looking at here. Why do you say not?
Because I think will be harder for teachers to control the whole situation.
Of course, you as a teacher are definitely thinking it from the teacher's point of view.
True.
So this is relating to some news. Some senior high school students, they used food delivery apps to get food sent to the school. And I have seen every now and again some Uber drivers coming up, although it's often with drinks. And I think it's probably more often for the teachers than the students, but I'm not sure. So this article is the students are giving their opinions on whether they agree with this idea and whether they should do this or not, giving reasons for the answer, and some examples to support the reasons in the second paragraph. The whole article should be at least 120 words in length.
今天的提示我们要看到的是呢，近期有一则新闻报道，某校高中生违规订购外食，因为呢没有填写学校规定的外食单而遭到惩罚。请根据高中生订外食这个主题写一篇英文作文，文长至少120个单词，文分2段。你要注意哦，第一段你要说明你是否赞成高中生订外食，并说明原因。第二段，请举自身的经验为例，解释你赞成或反对的理由。
So we'll be using first-person perspective here as it's something you think. Now, you'll be making an argument, so the first thing you need to do is choose one side or the other. Are you in favor or not? Now, you can use present tense for the general stuff in the first paragraph. I think this because, so it's think, not thought. But in the second paragraph, when you're describing these past experiences and examples that support the points you've made, those things occur in the past. So you'll be using past tense, present perfect, past perfect, something like that to do more of a narrative.
是的，在第一段当中呢，你要说明你是否赞成，所以用现在简单式就可以了。那在第二段你要讲述自身经验的时候，好，当然是过去的事情，所以你要用的就是过去式系列。那再来到了 develop and approach 的地方，第一个根据提示呢，本文属于 议题性质的英文作文，所以呢是属于论说文类型的。那一般而言呢，当文章主题是与时事议题相关的时候，可以思考这个新闻的背景以及可能造成的影响，接着决定文章的切入点。那常见的架构我们等下会说明。
So since the article asks you for an opinion, the first thing you need to decide is whether you are in favor or not. Now, this should be a fairly easy decision for you to make. However, if you can't think of lots of reasons apart from just, yeah, I like it, then you don't have to give your real opinion. Maybe you can write a better argument and write a better essay and think of more supporting reasons for the other side of the argument. So even if you think, yeah, great, order food, maybe you think, well, I can't think of a good reason or a good example. Maybe I'll just pretend I don't like the idea because I can think of good reasons for that. No one is saying you have to tell the truth. You just need to write well.
没错，所以呢，在考试的时候，你要选的是能不能很轻松、很简单就写出很多理由跟经验的那一方。好，不论你是不是真的赞成，你就选比较好写的那一个。那再来到了 introduction 引言的部分呢，可以简述新闻内容以及所发议题的讨论，那说明个人、社会大众或专家对这个新闻议题的态度或者是看法。
Yes, as always, we'll need to think about an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. The introduction could, for example, discuss the recent news. You could refer to it, or just maybe introduce the idea of how food delivery services have become so popular over the last 3 or 4 years that they're now just like an essential part of everyday life.
是的，你也可以介绍说为什么这个食物外送的 App 这些应用程式这么样的火红，到底是为了什么而这么样的窜红，这么样的受欢迎呢？你也可以写在你的 introduction 的部分。那再来到了 body 主体，可以进一步分析这则新闻所引发的正反面讨论与主因，接着表达自己对此事件的观点，并说明它所造成的影响。
Yep, your body will have all the supporting details, so that's your reasons in the first paragraph and the examples that demonstrate them in the second. Make sure they match up. If you've got 2 reasons, use 2 examples that have and follow and demonstrate the same reasons. Otherwise, your article won't actually make sense.
是的，你提出的理由跟你等一下提出的 example 必须要相符哦，不能提出一个理由，然后给了一个完全不是为了它而给的例子。好，再来到了 conclusion 结论的部分，可以提出对此事件的反省、检讨，或者是如何改善的建议，也可以简单扼要的重申自己的立场。
So your conclusion can just bring things back around to where you started. For example, you could end it with a recommendation to students and schools for what you think they should do going forward in the future.
那以本次主题写作来说呢，第一段你必须先简述新闻探讨的议题，以及在这个议题上你所抱持的态度。那第二段再举例支持你的观点。那要记得刚刚提醒过的，你所举出的亲身经验越是具体，就越能强化你的论点，并且提高文章的说服力。
So we don't have a brainstorming part with this unit this month.But you can do some brainstorming using the same ideas as we've talked about in previous issues of our magazine or elsewhere, just any kind of brainstorming. We've got another unit later you could look at. You could make short lists of the advantages and disadvantages of ordering food. You could note down some ideas about the problems it could cause or what good things could result from it. And again,If you can't think of any good, real, true personal stories that relate to this, make something up. Like I said before, you don't need to tell the truth. You just need to tell a realistic sounding story that supports your points and is using good writing skills.
是的，那这边呢没有 brainstorming 的部分，不过你也可以自己拿一张纸，好写下，比如说要订外送的 pros and cons 好处跟坏处，它所带来的 problems 问题，还有 solutions 解决的办法，都可以把它列下来。
So let's move on to our useful tips. So you're making an argument here. You're trying to convince somebody of what you think. So to do that, there are lots of different phrases and sentence starters that talk about what your opinion is, what you think. So we've got all kinds of expressions here that you can use.
首先呢，我们看到表达个人看法的时候啊，你可以用到以下的句型哦，像是第一个 I am of the opinion that 代表我认为某件事是如此。那再来像是 As far as I'm concerned 就我而言，对我来说，然后逗号之后再写下来你的意见。再来一个是 From my point of view 根据我的观点，好，或是我认为。那还有什么呢？ What else do we have, Pat?
Well, yeah, all of those, and there are a few more examples in the magazine, they're general. They just are to preface your overall opinion. This is what you think. And you do it that way also to show this isn't a fact. You're just giving a personal opinion. So then we've got a set of sentences that show that you like something, you support an idea.
所以要表示支持或是赞成的时候，你可以说像是 I am in favor of 好，我赞成某件事，或是 I approve of 我赞成某件事，好，都是一样的中文意思。英文里面你可以去选用你喜欢的，那或者是呢 I am on the side of 我站在某某某的这一边，或是 I am in support of 我支持某件事情。
So equally, now we've looked at some phrases for I like this. We need some for no, I don't think this is good.
是的，所以要表达不赞成或是反对的时候呢，你可以说像是 I am not in favor of 好，我不赞成某事，或是 I am against something 我反对某件事。那还有一个I am opposed to 后面加上名词或是 VING 因为这边的 to 它是一个介系词哦，那代表就是我反对。还有啊，像是 I don't support I am not in support of 都可以来代表我不支持。
Okay, I think we'll take a short break right now, and when we come back, we're going to look at an outline and match it to one of our writing samples. We'll also discuss those samples. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. Now let's look at making an outline that fits one of our essays. We got to get the right order of sentences in the outline. Of course, we can connect them and add more details later. So paragraph 1, and this is our basic sample. We're taking it from here. It starts with the introduction. I'm in support of high school students ordering food and having it delivered to their schools. So this is a very clear topic sentence that says that someone is in support of the idea. It gets right to the point. You could introduce your article in a bunch of different ways, but if you're doing a shorter one and you want to spend more time on your arguments, yeah, this is great for just, right, this is the story, this is the argument, and this is what I think.
是的，刚刚我们说到呢，你开头的方式有很多。第一个，你可能介绍这个议题的背景。那这里呢，作者选用的是开门见山法，直接说明自己支持学生可以点餐叫外送。那接下来他就要给出 reasons 理由了。
Yep, the reasons is the body of the first paragraph. We've got A, for one thing, it gives them, meaning students, more choice. B, for another, it allows students to celebrate special occasions. And C, however, it's important that students get permission first. So we've got two reasons, and we're using quite a common pattern for one thing, for another, or for another thing. This is quite a common pattern when you're giving a list of examples or reasons. Now, also, the writer shows that there is something else important to consider, like, yeah, get permission first, don't just do it. This is a good thing to add, as it shows the writer has thought about the issue, they've thought about both sides of the argument, they've considered why it could be a problem as well, and they're giving some advice. So they're not just all, oh yeah, order food, no problem, it's great. They're showing that they have some depth of ideas.
是的，所以这边呢，作者用 for one thing 跟 for another 带出两个理由，再来用 however 提出哦，先取得允许是很重要的。他这样子写啊，可以代表作者也有考虑到另外一方的想法。那接着就要用自身的经验来支持他的理由了。So he's going to talk about his own personal experience.
That's right, that's paragraph 2, the personal examples. And the topic sentence of the second paragraph is kind of following on. I'm glad my school lets us order food. Okay, so we know that this person is happy about it, and of course there are going to be reasons. So then we've got A, I can think of 2 occasions. B, the first was on my classmate's birthday. C, she loves Korean food, so we ordered that. And then the other example, D, the other time was on the last day of the semester. E, we ordered desserts to celebrate all of our hard work. So this is like a narrative story. You've got past tense. You'd obviously connect those later to make it a real story. Now, you'll notice that both examples support the second point in the first paragraph, which is about celebrating special occasions. Now, this is okay. We don't really need an example to support the "it gives students more choice" reason, because that's obvious. Of course, food delivery apps will give you more choice. You don't need to give an example or give supporting detail. That's what food apps do. Everybody knows it. So it's fine in this case to demonstrate the second point with 2 examples because everybody gets the first one.
是的，这边的作者呢提出支撑第2个原因的理由哈，所以呢他说呢，在这个特别的日子当中就是要叫外送。那怎么样是特别的日子呢？他举了2个例子，第一个是同学生日，第二个是学期的最后一天。
And the conclusion is, if we hadn't been able to order food, we wouldn't have enjoyed these occasions. Now, here we've got the good use of the third conditional, or the past unreal conditional, to finish off the article. This is quite high-level grammar, so it shows that the writer knows how to use English in the right way. Always good in this kind of exam.
是的，他这边用到 third conditional， 也就是与过去事实相反的假设句哦。他说呢，如果当时过去的那个时间点没有办法叫外送的话，那他们就无法享受这些特别的日子了。
So the outline, of course, will then have more details, transition words and phrases added to turn it into a full essay. And as I say every time, it's important to do the outline because then you'll see, oh, I've got enough information for this, I've got maybe too much for this, so I need to cut some, and I've got nothing to support this, so I need to add some. Doing this in the outline is much quicker than going back and fixing your essay later. So let's start with our basic sample. I'm in support of high school students ordering food and having it delivered to their schools. For one thing, it gives them more choice. School meals are often dull and repetitive, so ordering food from outside brings much-needed variety. For another, it allows students to celebrate special occasions. However, it's important that students obtain permission from their school first. I'm glad my school permits us to order food. I can think of 2 occasions where doing so turned an ordinary school day into a memorable one. The first was on my classmate's birthday. She loves Korean food, so we ordered that as a special treat for her. It was great. The other time was on the last day of the semester. We ordered tasty desserts for the whole class to celebrate all of our hard work. If we hadn't been able to order food, we wouldn't have been able to mark these occasions in such a joyful manner. So we've read through the basic sample, and you'll see it follows the outline pretty closely. It covers all the points, but it adds extra details and descriptive adjectives to make the article a little more colourful. When talking about bringing variety, it adds the phrase that wasn't in the outline, school meals are often dull and repetitive. So, yeah, schools aren't trying to give you a restaurant level of cuisine. They are going, no, we need to get cheap, reasonably healthy food that can feed a lot of people, is easy to store and work with. So you get similar meals, you get the same kind of stuff, rice, noodles, vegetables, meat, most days. So, yeah, maybe some people will find it dull.
对，所以他用了2个形容词来形容学校所提供的餐点 dull 很无聊 repetitive 重复性很高。好，不过这是当然的咯。那再来呢，他提出自己论点的时候，提出自己想法的时候，他用的是 I am in support of something， 好，代表我支持。那再来呢，刚刚提到的 for one thing for another， 同学们要特别注意。还有就是他用 however 带出，不过叫外送还是需要老师允许的。再来他提到了 two occasions， 2个亲身经历的场合，他用 the first 带出第一个 ，the other time 好带出第二个。那最后他用假设句作结，重申能够叫外送的好处。
Yeah, Elsie's already mentioned the word repetitive, so to explain it again would be repetitive, because that's what it means.
对，重复性高的。
Same thing again and again. Okay, so that's all we're really going to say about the first sample. There's not too many other hard words. Of course, it's got that slightly more complex grammar in the final sentence, but we'll look at that in just a moment. Now let's take a look at the advanced sample and see what's going on here. Advanced sample. As a high schooler, I am firmly opposed to the idea of allowing students to order food from off-campus. One significant reason for my stance is that some students tend to skip the last few minutes of class before the lunch break to wait for their delivery. Monitoring and regulating students' behavior in such situations is a formidable task, which leaves room for students deceiving their teachers and disrupting the learning environment. Another compelling reason against off-campus food ordering is the substantial amount of waste it generates. The use of paper containers and plastic bags contributes to environmental pollution and puts additional pressure on our school's waste management system. An incident involving my classmate Jim can perfectly explain my anti-ordering stance. He left the classroom on the pretext of using the washroom, but actually sneaked out to collect his order. This behavior had a negative impact on the classroom atmosphere and inspired more students to imitate his example. In another case, Max, a friend of mine who volunteers for campus cleaning and trash disposal, told me that our campus environment is severely contaminated by non-biodegradable waste. He even showed me a photo of flies hovering around the trash area, which was overflowing with all kinds of food containers and plastic bags. These examples demonstrate the detrimental consequences of allowing off-campus food orders. From my perspective, schools should ban students from ordering food so they can mitigate these risks. First, let's check out the advanced sample. It presents the opposite opinion, and with this one, both reasons are supported by their own example story in the second paragraph, and there are plenty of extra details and a lot of good vocabulary and sort of long, slightly more complex multi-clause sentences.
是的，这边的细节多，好，然后呢，给例子的时候，那个叙述也是更清楚的，更具有细节的。那再来呢，有很多的 vocabulary， 我们要来看一下。
Yeah, the first one we've got is a stance. A stance could just mean the way you stand physically. Do you kind of stand straight? Do you hunch over? But when we're talking about an argument, it's your position on the argument. It is where you stand on this question, in favor of, or against, or neutral.
是的，所以 stance 它代表就是一个人的立场。
So we describe like kind of controlling students' behavior as a formidable task. Something that is formidable is difficult, it's challenging, it's large.
也就是难处理的。
Because this kind of people leaving and going to get their food from the campus gates or waiting a long time is disrupting the learning environment. To disrupt something means to kind of get it out of order, to stop it, interrupt it, cause problems with it.
使某个动作或是某件事情中断，好，可以用 disrupt 这个字。
So that covers the first reason. It makes it hard to control students. The second reason is about waste, and we say this is a compelling reason. Something that is compelling is very strongly believable. It makes you think, yeah, that's right. I agree. I am forced to agree because of the strength of the argument. But you could also talk about sort of compelling performance in a movie. Like, I really believe that person feels this way. That's a genuine, strong reaction that I can sympathize with.
Compelling 这个形容词就是有说服力的，好，或是让人相信是真的。那后面呢，很常接上 reason 这个名词，好，代表的是有说服力的理由。
So basically, the advanced sample argument is two parts. Firstly, students are hard to control if they're doing this, and it makes a mess of the school thing, especially just before lunch. And then the second reason is the waste. So we've got the two stories. The first explains the kind of everything getting messed up. And there's this guy, Jim, who left the classroom on the pretext of using the washroom, but really sneaked out.To give a pretext is to give a reason to explain or justify what you're doing, but it's not the real reason. So what this means is he's saying, teacher, I need to go to the bathroom. I can't wait till lunch. But he's actually sneaking out, so that's moving in a kind of quiet, hidey, creepy, deceitful kind of way, like a thief or somebody just kind of running away from school.
So he just made up an excuse.
Yeah, and then sneaked around.
Yes, 以点点点为借口，好 on the pretext of something.
Yeah, and so other students imitated his example, and suddenly all the students were doing it. So that's the one example. The other is about trash disposal. So disposal is throwing things away. We've got non-biodegradable waste, which is like non-recyclable plastic bags and boxes. Flies are hovering, which means they're in the air in one place over the trash, which is overflowing. So the garbage cans, all the stuff is falling out of the garbage can and ending up on the floor. And this is detrimental, so it's bad. So we shouldn't order food, says this person, because that's a way to mitigate the risks or make the risks smaller and more easy to control. So I've kind of raced through the last few there because we've got some grammar to look at too.
对，这个句型非常的重要，刚刚有讲到的与过去事实相反的假设。那当然我们要有 if 出现，加上主词之后呢，后面接的是过去完成式哦，所以是 had 加一个过去分词，然后逗号之后再接上主词。接下来有4个助动词要你去选择，是 would, could, should, or might。接下来要加上的是一个现在完成哦，也就是 have 再加上一个过去分词。那言下之意呢，就是实际情况是句子所要表达的反面。那给同学们一个例句 If Neil hadn't stayed up late last night, he wouldn't have been late for school this morning. 如果 Neil 昨天晚上没有熬夜，那他今天上学就不会迟到了。所以实际上呢 Neil 昨天熬夜，而且今天早上也迟到了。
Exactly. So this is a past unreal conditional. This talks about how if something had been different in the past, there would have been a different result also in the past. We often talk about this to illustrate like historical things or way our lives would have been different if we'd done a certain thing. The if clause has past perfect, and then the main clause has this modal verb with present perfect. So a good example that I often use is if it hadn't been for a teacher or a teaching company's collapse in Japan, I might never have come to Taiwan. Because I had been planning to go to Japan to teach English.
所以当时如果那件事情没有发生，你就不会来了。
Right, but this teaching company did collapse and suddenly there was no job, so I thought, all right, somewhere else.
So you did come to Taiwan.
Indeed. So there we go. Life would have been very different. Okay, well, that is all the time we have for today. Thank you very much for joining us to learn about these writing methods, these vocabulary phrases, and this bit of grammar. We'll talk to you again soon for English Digest. I'm Pat.
I'm Elsie.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.